Welcome to a tale of terror that will haunt your dreams and send shivers down your spine. Tonight, we delve into the true story of the Haunting of Blackwood Manor, a place where darkness lingers and souls are trapped in a never-ending nightmare. The story begins in the quiet town of Ravenswood, where Blackwood Manor stands, shrouded in mystery and a sinister past. The manor, a grand yet decaying Victorian mansion, has been abandoned for decades, its windows dark and its halls silent. But within its walls, something malevolent stirs. Our protagonists, Emily and Jack, were a young couple fascinated by the paranormal. They decided to explore the manor, drawn by its ominous reputation and the thrill of uncovering its secrets. Unbeknownst to them, they were about to awaken an ancient evil that had been lying dormant for years. As Emily and Jack approached Blackwood Manor, the sky was overcast, and a chill wind whispered through the trees. The manor loomed before them, its facade covered in ivy, and its once grand entrance now weathered and foreboding. The couple found a side door slightly ajar and slipped inside. The air was thick with dust and the scent of decay. Their footsteps echoed through the empty halls as they began to explore. At first, everything seemed normal, albeit eerie. But soon, the unsettling began. Emily felt a cold breath on her neck, though there was no one there. Jack heard whispers, soft and indistinct, coming from the shadows. They tried to shake off their fear, attributing the sensations to their imaginations. But as they ventured deeper into the manor, the occurrences became harder to ignore. Objects moved on their own, doors slammed shut, and the whispers grew louder, more insistent. The couple found themselves drawn to a dimly lit corridor, where the temperature dropped sharply. At the end of the corridor, they saw a figure, barely visible in the gloom. It was a woman, her face hidden by a veil, her sobs echoing through the hall. She didn't respond to their questions, but slowly turned and glided down the corridor, disappearing into the darkness. Emily and Jack hesitated, but followed, driven by a mix of curiosity and dread. They found themselves in a nursery. The room was filled with old, broken toys and a crib covered in cobwebs. On the wall, written in what looked like blood, were the words, "She never left." The crying grew louder, more desperate. Emily and Jack could feel the presence of something unseen, something malevolent. They tried to leave the nursery, but the door slammed shut, trapping them inside. The air grew colder, and the shadows seemed to come alive, swirling around them. Their panic set in as they realized they were not alone. The ghostly figure of the veiled woman appeared again, her cries turning into anguished wails. She pointed to the crib, and Emily and Jack reluctantly approached. Inside, they found an old, tattered diary. The entries revealed a tragic story of a mother, driven mad by grief after the death of her child. She had taken her own life in the nursery, and her spirit had been trapped in the manor ever since. As they read the diary, the walls seemed to close in on them. The ghost of the mother grew more agitated, her wails becoming deafening. The couple felt an overwhelming sense of despair, as if the very air was suffocating them. They knew they had to escape, but the manor seemed determined to keep them there. Desperate for a way out, Emily and Jack continued to search the manor, hoping to find something that could help them understand the haunting. They stumbled upon a hidden room in the attic, filled with old photographs and letters. The items belonged to the Blackwood family, who had once lived in the manor. The letters revealed a dark history of the family, plagued by tragedy and misfortune. The mother, Eliza Blackwood, had been a loving and devoted parent, but after the sudden death of her daughter, she became consumed by grief. She believed her daughter's spirit was still in the manor and conducted seances to try to contact her. The seances only seemed to attract darker forces, and soon, the entire family was tormented by supernatural occurrences. Eliza's descent into madness culminated in her taking her own life in the nursery, where she believed she would be reunited with her daughter. But instead of finding peace, her spirit was trapped, bound to the manor by her unresolved grief and the dark forces she had unwittingly summoned. Emily and Jack realized that the only way to free Eliza's spirit was to perform a cleansing ritual, one that would banish the dark forces and allow her to move on. They searched the attic for clues, finding an old book of rituals that Elijah had used. The instructions were detailed and complex, but they had no other choice. With the book in hand, Emily and Jack prepared for the ritual. They gathered the necessary items and returned to the nursery, where Elijah's spirit awaited. The air was thick with tension as they began the ritual, reciting the incantations and lighting the candles. The shadows in the room grew darker, swirling around them with increasing ferocity. Elijah's wails became louder, filled with pain and sorrow. As the ritual progressed, the dark forces fought back, trying to prevent the couple from completing it. Objects flew across the room, and a powerful wind threatened to extinguish the candles. Emily and Jack held their ground, determined to see the ritual through. They could feel the presence of the dark forces pressing in on them, cold and malevolent. With each incantation, the room seemed to vibrate with an otherworldly energy, as if the very fabric of reality was being torn apart. As they reached the final part of the ritual, the dark forces made one last desperate attempt to stop them. The shadows coalesced into a monstrous figure, its eyes burning with malevolent intent. It lunged at them, but Emily and Jack stood firm, reciting the final words of the incantation. With a blinding flash of light, the dark figure was banished, and Elijah's spirit let out one last, mournful wail. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the room was filled with an eerie calm. The candles flickered out, and the nursery was silent once more. Emily and Jack collapsed to the floor, exhausted and shaken. They had done it. They had freed Elijah's spirit and banished the dark forces that had plagued the manor. As they caught their breath, they felt a sense of relief and closure. They made their way out of the manor, the air outside feeling fresh and clean compared to the oppressive atmosphere within. As they walked away, they couldn't help but look back at the old mansion, now silent and still. They knew they would never forget what they had experienced and the horrors they had faced. The couple shared their story with others, warning them of the dangers that lurked within Blackwood Manor. The town of Ravenswood took steps to seal off the manor, ensuring that no one else would fall victim to its malevolent forces. But the memory of the haunting lingered, a reminder of the darkness that can reside in even the most beautiful places. And so ends the haunting tale of Blackwood Manor, a story of grief, madness, and supernatural terror. While the manor now stands silent, its walls hold the echoes of the past, a chilling reminder of the events that transpired within. If you enjoyed this story, please leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Do you believe in ghosts? Have you ever experienced something supernatural? We'd love to hear your stories. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the unknown.